Hey everyone, welcome back to the Handmade Homestead and Garden. This is Angela Allen, and today I want to talk to you about garden gold. And no, it is not compost. Let's go. Now, compost is definitely garden gold for growing things, but there's something I rely on in my garden even more than compost. And I couldn't garden the way I do and be as productive as I am in a small space without it. And that's wood chips. Let's talk about them. I have found that using the no-dig method and wood chips in between the rows has given me an almost weed-free garden. There's one weed right there. See that piece of grass? These are beets I planted. They're just coming up. And these are just some tomato plants that are going by. There's cabbage started behind that. I have to cover it, frankly, because the bunnies get in my yard and they eat it before we do. But weeds are almost a thing of the past. I'm going to shoot right down this path next to me. You see that? Tomatoes on the left, tomatoes on the right. I challenge you to find a bunch of weeds. There's a couple of blades of grass right here. But otherwise, going all the way down, weeds are something I have almost none of in my garden. And it's all thanks to no-dig method and these. I'm 62 years old. I've been gardening since I was 20, and my parents always gardened, so for a really long time. And when I was in my early 20s, I owned a 14-acre farm in northern Maine that was not off-grid, but as close to off-grid, and I was as self-sufficient as I could be. I had a great little homestead as a 20-year-old single woman living in Maine, burning wood, growing almost all of my fruits and vegetables. I had hens. I think at my highest number I had close to 50 hens, goats, horses were my life back then too. And so I've had a lot of big garden, big yard experience, big woods experience. But urban gardening is something that I've only been doing for, I want to say 20 years. And in my previous garden experience, I used a rototiller, a big rototiller. And it was my baby. That thing slept with a blanket on it all winter long. And one of the first things I did when I decided to do no-dig gardening is I went all in, full-on commitment. I noticed a neighbor of mine had a landscape company mowing her lawn, and I walked right over and I gave them my big rototiller, and I haven't looked back since. But growing is growing. Anywhere that you can have soil, you can grow food. And I tell that to people all the time. It's one of the biggest things about my channel is I want people to know that even if you have no yard at all, but you have a closet and a grow light, you can grow food for yourself and have at least something that you can be self-sufficient in. Even if it just means growing your own herbs or growing your own microgreens, you can have something to put on your table that you grew yourself. Wood chips to me are garden gold. They break down eventually into fertilizer. The dirt underneath these wood chips is absolutely something I could garden in right now if I needed to. I could small these rows up and put in a couple of extra rows if I needed to. But I don't need to because we're a small family and this is plenty of gardening space for us. Wood chips smell good. They look good. Yes, I do get a lot of roly-polies in the wood chips, but I have found, now this is just me, I know people say they eat your plants, but I have not had a problem with them, not at all, not ever. And there are a lot of roly-polies in here, but it may be because we add new wood chips 2 or 3 times a year. We top off the wood chips we have with additional wood chips, and maybe that just keeps their food source up so they never need to bother my plants. But the truth is, they never bother my plants. I do occasionally get mushrooms popping up here and there in the garden, in the wood chips, and I love that every time I see it. I don't grow mushrooms out here to eat, so I know if there's mushrooms in this garden, they need to be disposed of eventually. But the mushrooms show that the soil underneath and that the wood chip decomposition is healthy and viable and working like it should. So seeing mushrooms just tells me that things are good in the garden. And if you followed my channel for any length of time, you know that this garden is super healthy. And if you're wondering how healthy, go back and look at my video that I did a couple of weeks ago about peppers. My pepper plants get over 5 feet tall. Those are just ordinary, everyday table peppers. I get them 5 feet tall. And that's all because the soil in here is so healthy. And I think the wood chips just really help this ecosystem so much. We never pay for wood chips, at least we never have so far. Our local arborists, and there are lots of them around here, have to pay to dump their chips, and I'm sure all arborists do everywhere. If you are willing to take them by the load or the half load, depending on how much they have that day in their truck, they will usually give them to you for free. So not only do they not have to pay $40, $50 a load to dump the wood chips, and then we always tip the driver. And oftentimes for smaller arborists, that's the owner or one of his employees. So not only does he save that $40, $50 dumping fee, he or his employee gets another little pot of money to have. So they're actually, by the end of the day, ahead $100 instead of being in the hole that much money. So they are happy to give them to you for free. Not only do the wood chips keep my soil moist and cool as they break down, they're giving me absolutely incredibly good compost underneath the top layer of wood chips. So when we get new wood chips, we just go through with a scuffle hoe, make sure there are no weeds, and then shovel it on and add the layer right on top of the wood chips that are already here. Of the wood chips always end up in the compost pile as we clean up or rake up or tidy up in the garden. But also there's wood chips that are coming in here, wood shavings at least, from our chicken coop as well. Those break down and I get even better, lighter, fluffier compost. And I swear I've got the best compost on earth here. Between that and the Jom tank, I can grow anything in this garden, anything at all. They keep a lot of the pests down, even though they do have roly-polies in them. They are very discouraging to slugs, and I don't have much of a slug problem or snail problem here in this garden either. They break down over time, and they give soft, fluffy, moisture-rich, composted soil because of all the organic matter. I take wood chips that are chips and leaves. I really kind of prefer them when they have leaves and small twigs in them. They do compost and break down faster. It does mean I have to replace them faster, but it also means that they add more nutrition back to my soil. And they're free, or they're very low cost. Now there is something online called Chip Drop. If you're looking for wood chips and you live in an area that doesn't have a lot of arborists, consider signing up for Chip Drop. I think there's a small fee for that, like $20 or something. It's not much, but yeah, consider that. But there are a couple of things you should be cautious about. If the chips that are dropped off to you contain pine chips or any kind of pine tree or conifer resin, my suggestion would be that you wear a mask. As the chips heat up and break down, and they do that quickly when they're dropped off in a pile, they will heat up just like a compost pile, and they start kind of aerosoling that resin. It can give you a cough, it can give you respiratory symptoms if it's fresh pine chips. So wear a mask when you're digging in that pile and spreading the chips. Once they're down and on the ground and spread, you don't have to worry about it. It's okay then. But when you're digging in that big pile and moving wheelbarrows of chips, I would suggest that you wear a mask. Now, we haven't noticed that issue with hardwood chips, but they are dusty. It wouldn't hurt to wear a mask anyway. All right, but once they're down in the garden, they've been fine. The other thing is, wood chips like that, when they're left in a pile, they heat up quickly. Some layers are dry, some layers on the inside may or may not be moist. If it's an older tree and it's very dry, this is a bigger problem. But things like that sometimes can combust, I would think. I know that hay can, especially if it's damp. So you want to make sure that when your chips are dropped, you do not drop them near your house, near your neighbor's house and near your wooden fence. We have ours dropped squarely in the middle of our tarred driveway until we spread them. And our garden isn't next to our house, though it does have a shed in it. Once they're spread out, it's never been a problem. They don't overheat that way. It's just when they're in a big pile in your yard waiting to be spread out that can be a problem. And the more it rains on them, the more wet they get, the heavier they'll be in the middle of the pile. So spread them while they're still dry or fresh, and they'll be a lot easier and lighter to spread. And then use them liberally, use them thickly, but give your trees some breathing room around the bases. You don't really want to stack up those wood chips around the base of your trees. It'll encourage disease, and it'll hold on to too much moisture, and it could damage or even kill fruit trees or other trees. So give them a couple of inches of space between the thick wood chips and the trees, or best yet, just give them, I don't know, 6 or 8 inches of space. Other than that, I don't really see any downfall to using chips. They save me money, they save me time, they save me back-breaking weeding labor. They feed my soil, they feed a few beneficial insects. I think the little roly-polies are adorable, and like I said, they don't bother my plants, and they do break down heavy metals and other things in the soil that you want broken down, and they help break down the wood chips, which will give you even more usable compost in the future and even healthier soil. Wood chips are absolutely garden gold in my mind, and I just wouldn't want to run a garden without them. Especially a no-dig garden, you really need that help. And if you're tired of weeding and you want healthy soil, I think you should really look at wood chips and watch some Charles Dowding videos. Man, that guy, he knows how to grow a garden. Wood chips. If you're not using wood chips and you're battling weeds, then you need to change your thinking. Get yourself some wood chips, some cardboard, and get growing. All right, I'll see you next time. Take care.